So integration is about taking the individual parts of the body, the individual actions of those parts, and integrating them into a whole. Sometimes you can do that very easily by doing the poses twice. Once with an attention to detail of individual places, and then the second one, you just move into it with your body memory and focus more on your breath. So that's something that I wanted to introduce to you, and you may find that it gives you a different, more meditative practice. It also might allow you to release some of the areas of your body that overwork, because we habituate into perhaps overusing our neck and our shoulders or overusing our lower back, right? So having said that, bring your hands to the tops of the thighs, reach the elbows back, and inhale, begin to lengthen up from the pubic bone through the sternum. Now, without lifting the arm bones, see if you can ever so slightly lift the collarbones up and broaden out away from the midline. Let your head float over the tailbone so you can lift the chin a little bit and feel how that closes the back of the neck. And then you can drop your chin toward your sternum, which tends to stretch the muscles on the back of the neck, but it also puts more stress on the spine because it's dragging you forward. So find that middle ground where you feel a bit more upward extending. Interlace your fingers, reach the palms out, inhale, descend the buttock bones as you sweep your arms up. Now, when you feel a sense of the bottom front ribs thrusting forward, because we will continue also with what we were working with on Tuesday, which was the container, right? So if the bottom front ribs start jutting forward, you bring them in and down. So the back ribs lift equally. So if the shoulders are tight, that might happen. So the hands come forward and you lift up, and then begin to contain the ribs and see how much further you can get. Exhale, lower the arms. Reverse the cross of the fingers, extend your arms out. Descend the buttock bones down. Inhale, take the arms up slowly. Notice if there's any disturbance in the front ribs, and you pause, reframe, right? So you take the bottom front ribs in and down as the arms sweep up and back. Outer arms forward, inner arms release back and slightly down. Find some peace in your neck. So if there's no peace there, take the hands slightly forward. Good. And then on your exhalation, lower the arms down and then reverse the cross of your legs. So here we go. Exhale, release the buttock bones and the thighs down, interlace the fingers, slowly bring the arms up with the length of your inhalation. Exhale, release the arms down, find an evenness about the body, reverse the cross of your fingers and extend the palms out once again. Buttock bones down, exhale, inhale, raise the arms up. So you might have a different expression here in the body. Now release your palms, begin to stretch the fingertips up and go back and forth, noticing how the side ribs go from one side to the other, right? So sometimes this is called apple picking, right? Because it's getting into that season anyway. So try and reach for those good apples up top that the people down below haven't been able to reach. And those of you that haven't been able to reach, bring tall friends along. Right? And then find your stretch upwards again and exhale, release the arms out and down. Take a gentle twist to your right. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, turn. Just follow your breath on this one. And then release, going to your left. So you have a little bit of that expression of what you remember, what you know from your practice. And then release. Now, Reverse the cross of the legs. And as you exhale, descend the buttock bones, let the legs drop down. If you lift your knees slightly, you might be able to reach out through the inner heel and pin the outer edges of the feet down a little bit more. It will create a better action in your hips. Okay. And then scoop the abdomen in and up. Keep the bottom front ribs contained. And on an exhalation, keep that lift of the rib cage and slowly turn to your right, turning the navel, the ribs, reaching out through the bend of the elbows, all the while pinning the outer edges of the feet down, the buttock bones down, scooping the abdomen in and up, keeping the bottom front ribs contained, reaching out through the elbows, broadening the collarbones, look over that right shoulder. And then keep the lift of your chest as you exhale, turn back to front. Inhale, lift your chest, and then exhale, turn once again. Keep both buttock bones pressing down evenly, scooping the abdomen in and up, keeping the bottom front ribs contained. Lift the sternum, lift the back ribs. Reach out through the elbows and turn. Exhale and release. Good. Now we're going to take a few poses on the floor first before coming to stand. And these poses will be helpful when we do come up to stand. Get a belt handy and 2 blocks handy. All right. You know, your props nearby so you don't have to reach for them, which can be rather distracting. Now sit in Dandasana without props. You can roll the buttock flesh back. That will begin to retract your legs back. Reach out through the heels, spreading the toes. And then if you're tight in the back of the legs and you feel like you're just tucking the tail, move your trunk back at an angle so you can feel even in the lift of the back ribs and the lift of the sternum. Reach the inner elbows back. Press down evenly into either the palms or the fingertips, depending on your position. And stay here for 3 long breaths. So see if you can now integrate the action of lifting and expanding the trunk on your inhalation and grounding and lengthening the back of the legs on your exhalation. Just take a few breaths. So you're in the movement of the breath and less of the checklist, which is always an interesting proposition. How much of the day am I in my checklist? How much of the day am I in my breath? Probably more my checklist than my breath. Now bring the hands near your hips, bend the knees, and let yourself traction all the way down to the floor. And then bring your heels very close to the back, the back heel to your fingertips. And just stay here for a moment, observing what's going on in the back body. Now, bring your palms to the kneecap and let the legs suspend. So you're ironing out the back body. And sometimes when we're in these poses where we stay for a period of time, the only thing to do is follow your breath. Now, keep your right knee up, let your left foot land, and interlace your fingers either on your front shin or if your knees are tender on the back of the thigh. Drag the left heel out with your arm straight and your right thigh very far away from the chest, as far as the length of your arm. So you really get length of that left leg out of the hip socket. It's straight on the floor. Your arms are straight, so your leg isn't coming up to your chest yet. Now, firm the left thigh and reach to the heel like you did in Dandasana. Broaden the collarbones as best you can. Keep the shoulder blades on the floor and slowly bring your right knee towards your right armpit. Notice any disturbance in the lower back. This is Pavanamuktasana. Great pose, both for the hips and the abdomen and the lower back. So the more you exhale, the more it's a grounding, extending element. That would imply that your left thigh grounds down, the left heel reaches out. Now I'm starting to get a little pinchy in my right hip. Certainly the temperature drop is going to be interesting. That's another reason to do the poses twice, is you can sometimes give yourself an opportunity to go into those deeper places, not so much by staying in the pose for an indefinite amount of time or forcing yourself in here, but by allowing the knee to come away from the chest for a moment, reaffirm the action of the left thigh firming down and bringing the knee back in. Now hold the back of your right thigh, everyone, and begin to straighten the leg up. So have your arms straight and your legs straight, and press the thigh into the hands, hands into the thigh. If you can't straighten your leg, that's fine. Just let your knee bend. You want a decent stretch in that hamstring, but not behind the knee. If you can, begin to take the toes over the top of the head, and maybe you get your calf, right? Press calf into palm, palm into calf. Broaden the collarbones, reach to the elbows, and find a nice deep stretch in that hamstring without losing the extension of your left leg or the grounding of your back body. Now, release the hands overhead and slowly take the right heel out, one breath at a time, towards the floor. You'll feel a different action in the thigh all the way down. If we move quickly, you miss that delicious action of strengthening or opening or releasing on that right leg. And then let the right heel drop, let everything go. And then rock your feet from side to side and bring your knees back into a bent position. Let the palms come to the kneecaps and suspend. So we're rebooting the grounding of the back body. Now let your right foot come to the ground. Extend the right heel all the way out along the floor, and then begin to bring the left knee towards your left armpit. Interlace the fingers on the front shin. With each additional exhalation, bring your left knee closer and closer and closer to your chest. Reach through the right heel, firm the right thigh down. Inhale, bring your sternum towards your chin. Right, so you've done all the corrective actions. Just breathe and see if you can move into the space so that you're not necessarily only grounding your leg on the exhalation, but you're focusing on reaching the right heel and the right thigh down into the floor as you exhale. And on the inhalation, you're focusing a little bit more on bringing the left knee towards your armpit and broadening the collarbones and taking the sternum towards the chin. So you begin to integrate. So there's always that action going on at the same time. Release the left leg and hold the back of the left thigh. Let your arms straighten without lifting your head up off the floor or your shoulders creating too much discomfort in the neck. Begin to straighten the leg by taking the toes towards the top of the head. Press the back of the thigh into your hands. And isometrically speaking, bring the hands into the back of the thigh. So if it's too much for the left hamstring, you bend your knee and find a strong stretch. And if you're a bit more open, see if you can stay grounded in both sides of the back of the pelvis as you begin to bring your hands up to the meat of your calf. So we never leave our hands on the back of the knee. And sometimes I'll take my feet up high, my hands up higher towards my feet. But if I leave the hands today on the back of the meat of the calf, I can really get a good isometric grounding of the calf into the palms, palms into the calf, and then I bend the elbows to bring the leg closer to my chest. So it's a meaty kind of support. Take a few breaths here. See if you can keep in your focus a sense of extending, expanding on the inhalation while still grounding in the legs. The right thigh down, the right heel reaches. And then as you exhale, reaffirm some of the grounding element, but you're still expanding the chest and opening the areas of the body that need a little bit more space. Release the arms overhead and slowly, for a count of 5, take your left leg all the way out and down. If you need a little extra support for the abdominal region, ground your right heel more into the floor. Reach the arms more away from the trunk. And then once your heel hits the floor, let go completely. Rock your feet from side to side, bend the knees. One more time, suspend, palms on the kneecaps. Keep the shoulder blades grounded, the back body grounded. So your hands actually come, fingers over the top of the kneecap. And the palm is on the kneecap, but your arms are straight. So you're just hanging here. So you just let the knees fall away from the chest. There it is. Now you got it. All right. Now, let your left foot come to the floor. Grab your belt. And take the belt to the line of the arch where it meets the heel. And find a position where you can have straight arms and a straight leg. Ideally, even if you're very long in your hamstrings, start with your heel directly over the hip so you can feel and imprint what it is to have the back of the pelvis grounded. Inhale, spread the ribs towards the base of the skull, opening the rib cage outwards. And then as you exhale here, slowly extend that left heel out along the floor. See if you can maintain the same amount of grounding. There'll be subtle changes, right? So the left leg goes out straight. The right leg with the belt is up. The belt is up. The belt is up. Yeah. So you want the belt on the right foot. There you go. Good, good, good. All right. So if you extend the left leg out, then the instructions make more sense, right? It's the other right foot. Now, press your heel up into the belt and retract your arms down, keeping them straight to get more grounding in that back of right hip. Inhale. If you're going further, begin to take your hands overhead, right? At a certain point, I have to bend the elbows out to the side, but this gives me an entirely different expression than holding the belt close to my foot. It's a very open side body expression. So as I lift the elbows towards the ears, I firm the right thigh away from my trunk. And we start to get a cleaner fold in the top of the right thigh. Wherever your right foot is now, take your hand as close to the foot as you can on the belt, left hand, left thigh. Now keep a nice outward rotation of your right thigh bone and take the right leg out to the side. Keep the right foot parallel to the floor. So here you're going to have some disturbance and lightness on the left side. So you take the outward rotation of your left leg, ground the left heel, ground the left thigh, and turn your ribs to the left. If you really feel like you're falling over, take your foot up a little bit and retract the arm a little more in opposition to taking your left arm out. So that might give you a little counterbalance. Take 3 long breaths here, just feeling the sensation of the pose and what it provides. Now, you can come up 2 ways. One is firming the outer thigh towards the inner groins and lifting a straight leg up. If it's a little tender in the lower back today, or if you feel a little weak in your back, you're going to bend your knee and bring the leg back up. Release the belt, take your right foot to the floor, and then drag it out along the floor. And notice the difference between the right side and the left. Bend your knees. Palms to kneecaps. Tune into that sensation in your back. Make a mental note, right foot to the floor, and then take the belt to the area of the heel and the arch where they intersect. And have the heel of the foot directly over your hip. So you want the heel of your foot directly over your hip. There you go. Good. So as I begin to retract my arms down, I can feel a little bit more pressure on the back of the pelvis on that left side, right? So there's a movement of the thigh bone down. Drag your right heel out along the floor, firming the right thigh, maybe getting a little stretch in the front right hip. If you have more room in your hamstring, begin to draw the hands towards the line of the head. And at a certain point that feels natural, you're going to extend the elbows out. Firm your right thigh down. If you feel like the leg is rotating out, the right leg, because I feel my right leg to make this leg come closer to my face, I feel an outward rotation of my leg. So I can feel it because the weight's on my outer heel. I'm going to roll the inner knee down, and that starts to increase the stretch on the left leg. So that was a way in which my body was cheating to get further into the pose. So take another few breaths here, feeling the whole expression of the body so that the actions of the exhalation are still present when you reaffirm the actions of the inhalation, and vice versa. Now take your hand as close as you can to the foot on the belt. Right hand on right thigh. Inhale, lengthen the entire body, sternum towards the chin, firm that right thigh, and then take your left leg out to the left. So that's where the lightness comes. It's kind of part of the pose, but you don't want it to be so extreme. So outwardly rotate your right leg now. Retract the left arm in so you feel a sense of grounding in the back of the left hip. And if you need more ballast, you take your right arm out and turn your ribs to the right. Keep the outer edge of the left foot parallel to the floor. Firm your right thigh down. Have the weight on the center of the back of your right heel. Your option, right? If you're long in the hamstring, attempt the straight leg version up. If you're not quite so long, bend the knee to come back up. And then release the belt. Extend the arms out and slowly lower that left leg down. Get as long as you can on the back body. Use the pressure of the right heel down to support the abdomen, and then let go completely. All right, so now we're not going to use too many instructions. We're just going to go into the pose one more time. Bend both knees. Your option, if you are longer in the hamstring and prefer to use just holding your big toe, you can. Otherwise, take the belt onto your foot, straight right arm, straight right leg, and then extend the left leg out along the floor. Inhale, lengthen. Out through the heels, out through the sternum. Exhale, ground the thigh down into the floor, the left thigh and the back of the right hip, and then sweep your right leg out to the right. Feel the entire body working together to make this pose expand and ground. Keep the outer edge of the right foot parallel so you don't overstretch your right hip. Inhale, take your right leg back up. Keep the right leg up. Put the left foot up into the belt. And then let your right foot hit the floor. Extend the heel out. Straight left leg, straight left arm. Ground the left hip by retracting your left arm down. Inhale, extend. Sternum towards the chin, right heel out. Exhale, take that left leg out to the side. Keep the left arm retracting. Keep the left thigh retracting while still reaching out through the heel. Inhale, bring that left leg back up. Release the left leg, stretch the arms out, and lower your left leg down. And pause for a breath or two. Bend your knees, and now lift your hips up to place 2 blocks, or if you're sensitive on the back, 2 blankets underneath the back of the pelvis. So we want to come back into that sensation on the back of the pelvis here. It's flat. Now, how do I make my back ribs, my back pelvis flat? I want to press the back of the arms down and lift the back ribs up. So now I feel more action in the back of the arms than I do in the back of the pelvis. Turn your palms toward your face, have your elbows bent, and focus on an even pressure down into the back of the arm as you take your chin slightly away from the sternum. Now, you have 2 options here. We'll all do one bridge together, right? So Marianne, just go a little further toward your head so your shoulder blades are on the ground. No, you could scoot, you're fine. No, move you on the blankets further toward your head. So lie down again. Yep. And keep moving until your shoulder blades hit the floor. Excellent, there you go. Now, get your heels underneath your knees as best you can. Press the back of the arms down. Press into the feet and lift your hips up. Tailbone draws up, back of the arms down. Reach the thighs out, sternum towards the chin. And then exhale, lower yourself back down on your supports and find that action of even grounding onto the blocks. Keep the back of the arms pressing down and sidestep your feet together. Take one leg straight up. So it's like we did before in Supta Padangusthasana. You want that sense of grounding the back of the pelvis down from a retraction, if you will, of your thigh bone as you reach up to the back of the heel. Then take the right foot back down. Do the same on the other side. Get your sense of grounding here. Side ribs move towards the ears. Back ribs lift as you press the back of the arms down. And if you're comfortable, take the second leg up. Merge the inseam of your legs, whatever touches here. All right, so for me, it's just my inner knees. If I took my big toes together, I'd be overstretching my ankles. I wouldn't feel it, but you essentially would be imbalanced. So stay here for the amount of time you can that is not overworking your lower abdominals. It's good because it is giving you that aspect, but if they start to tire, try pressing the back of the arms down into the floor more and reaching through your heels more. This is how we integrate a challenging pose by enrolling other body parts. And then when it gets to be too much, just take one leg down to the floor and keep reaching up through the opposite leg. So doing one leg perhaps for 3 breaths on each side. Now, if your hamstrings are tight, your foot is way out here, because some of you have your leg way out, bend the knee so that the knee is over the hip. You still have a stretch, but you don't overcook the lower back. And if you haven't traded out, if you're doing the one leg variation, go ahead and do your second leg. Taking 3 long breaths. See if you can, without really thinking too hard about it, integrate the actions of the pose that you remember. So there's no words associated with it. And then release your other leg down. Lift the hips and release the blocks from underneath you. Let the legs suspend here. So having your palms on your kneecaps, letting the legs just hover. And then roll to your side and take child's pose. Now, often we will start in just child's pose and downward dog. How is it different? Don't think too hard about it, just sense it. So I find that my practice goes deeper if I just sense it. It's almost as if I'm, I don't know, watching a nice sunset. It's like, ooh, isn't that nice? Ooh, there's a nice stretch. Oh, look at that, there's space. Plant your palms, stretch to the fingertips. Inhale, come up onto your hands and knees. And just take a moment to spin the triceps towards one another while allowing the chest to drop down. Let your head hang. And then bring your knees beneath your hips. Ever so slightly lift your abdomen so you feel solid in the back of the pelvis, and then continue into downward dog with bent legs. Stretch through the arms, bend your legs, and now make sure that everything's lining up with the knees, the heels, so that as you reach the inner and outer heel back, start to take the calf down, but lift the hamstring from the back of the knee up through the buttock bones. Now contain those bottom front ribs. Bring the bottom front ribs into the body slightly and towards the tops of the legs. You might get more extension through your spine. Take 3 to 5 breaths here before coming into a standing forward bend. So we use the standing forward bend to continue to release the back body, create space in the spine. If your heels are close to the floor, by all means, walk your hands back towards your feet. So you get a greater reaffirmation that the thighs draw back in downward dog, not forward. And after a few breaths in your standing forward bend, you can come to stand in Tadasana. Good. All right, now. So we took a lot of time doing the knee to the chest on the floor. And what we want to do is begin to take that action as we stand. So take your hands to the back of the pelvis for a moment. Press your palms forward as your inner elbows reach back. Stand in your left leg and slowly begin to lift the right heel and then lower the heel. Right? And if you feel balanced enough, bring your right knee up and keep the back of the pelvis moving down. Spread the toes of the right foot. Keep the lift of the chest as you lift your right knee. Okay. And then slowly lower that right foot down. And then bend, alternating bend, just in case you overused your right foot, your left foot for balance. Now shift the weight to the right foot. Maybe begin by coming up onto your tiptoes. Abdomen draws in and up, palms reach down through the back of the pelvis and start to bring that left leg up. Spread the toes. Now at a certain point, the body tries to manifest different ways to bring the leg up higher. But I invite you to scoop the abdomen in and up, lifting through the trunk as you firm your left thigh muscle into the bone and the abdomen back. And then lower down. Maybe lift the heels, keep the feet pliable. Find Tadasana again, and now we're going a little further. Draw that right leg up again and slide the hands to the back of the thigh. Let your arms be straight and let your leg have some weight into the palms of the hands. The arms are straight, interlace the back of the thigh. Now, if you're having difficulty balancing, you can always use the wall, but I encourage you to stay in the middle of the room. Now, see if you can bring the knee up higher, have your hands on the front shin, and continue to draw your right knee towards your right armpit. Firm the left thigh muscle into the bone, the abdomen back. Draw the collarbones, reach to the elbows. So we're doing the same thing, only we are now standing. Good. And then on your own terms, exhale, release your leg back down. Lift and lower the heels. Make sure things are still moving there, because it is quite a temperature drop today. So all of a sudden everything goes, no. All right, second side. Palms on the back of the pelvis. All right, so here I get a sense of being in my back body from just having my hands on the back body, and begin to raise the left leg up. All right. So in order to manifest this, I can't go much higher until I reaffirm the abdomen in and up, firming the thigh back in the standing leg. All right, and then let your hands come around on the underside of the thigh here. And when I have that binding quality, the weight of my right thigh into my hands, I can start to get a little bit more balance. See if you can transfer now your hands to the front shin, directing the left knee towards the left armpit. Abdomen draws in and up, left hip drops down. Use the shin pressing into the hands pressing back into the shin to give you some binding quality and some balance. And then release your leg down on your own terms. Tadasana. Urdhva Hastasana. Watch out for leaping labs. And then exhale, take Utkatasana. Sit deeply into the legs. So here you have a similar action, right? Of releasing down and scooping the abdomen in and up. Inhale, straighten the legs. Exhale, lower your arms down. All right, so integration, second round. You can bring the inner edges of the feet together, stretch down through the fingertips. Come up to whatever amount you got to last time. So for me, I'm going to ground the left foot and bring my interlace to the front shin and draw the knee up. Lengthen and expand on the inhalation, ground, and soften on an exhalation. We'll see what you can do without the little itty-bitty micromanagement. Exhale, release your right leg down. Pause for breath, Tadasana. Inhale, raise the left leg up. Any amount, so maybe you're here, and maybe you're here. That's okay. Maybe you're even here today, right? Every day is different. This one's exceptionally hard because you really have to use just the leg to lift it up. And then exhale, lower down. So this is a entryway into Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, which is a Sanskrit long-winded way of saying you're grabbing a hold of your foot and you're taking it up in the air. All right. So the full pose would look like this. Right? And that's all well and good, but it's kind of hard to find. I neglected to bring out my folding chair, so I'm just going to use my couch. So if you do have a folding chair, all right, what we're going to do is start as we did before, scooping the abdomen in and up, and we'll raise the right leg up as high as we can, and then extend the heel out onto the seat of the chair. Now, if you're not getting enough stretch in the back of the leg, what you want to do is put a block onto the seat of the chair, maybe the long dimension because you're not sure exactly where you want to be. And then that way you get a bit more of a hamstring stretch. If that's still not good, you can always take your foot up to the top of the back of your chair or your couch if you don't have a folding chair, right? So for that right now, get yourself situated, and I'm going to run and get my folding chair. So if you find that you're a long hamstring person and the back of the chair irritates you, you can always put a blanket here. It makes it a little softer. All right, so whatever place you're going to work with, give it a good guess. Plant the feet, scoop your abdomen in and up, and then on an inhalation, slowly raise the right knee up. Again, strengthening the hips, extending out through the heel. Let the outer right hip drop down and sweep your arms forward, out and up. From the left thigh back, draw your abdomen back and extend up through the back ribs. So if you have no hamstring stretch here, what you would then do is come forward just a little bit. You don't have to go up too much, and re-enter. See if you can clear enough to where you don't have to use your hands to get the leg there. Good. Firm the left thigh back. Stretch up through the thumb side of the arms. Now, if you want to continue into an even deeper position, rotate forward in the pelvis, firming the left thigh back, and walk your hands out towards your feet and place your hands to either side of your right foot. Retract the right leg back. Lift the sternum up. Breathe. Slowly bring your hands back to the shin, the leg, walk yourself up. See if you can remove the leg. Have a nice strong extension action so the sternum lifts, the thigh presses back, and see if you can lower yourself with a gentle pause, taking the foot down. Really helpful for working with balance, right? Because you need the space, but you also need the strength in that standing leg. All right, second side. Ground through the heels. Abdomen in and out. On an inhalation, raise the left leg up to whatever amount you're working with. Right? So if it's just a block, take the heel to the block. It's the seat of the chair, take it to the seat of the chair, and then extend the arms up overhead. Right thigh back, round the heel. Abdomen in and up, stretch the arm. Release the hands down to the side ribs, going forward if there is more room. And as you start to turn the pelvis, if you retract this left leg back, it begins to give you the mechanics to come forward. Use the action of pressing down into the chair with your hands, whether your hands are on the seat of the chair, on the block, on your shin, on the back of the chair. All are viable. See if you can have clean lines through each individual leg and the expression of upwards through your trunk. And then inhale and come back up and release your leg down. Good. So if you want to try the full pose with me, great. Otherwise, we're going to do one more round. Challenge yourself, make it a little higher than before. If you want to do the full pose, you step back, all right? And you might, for ease and expression, if your foot was on the top of the chair, I think you'll be fine here, is you take the right knee up and you grab your big toe before straightening the leg, descend the right hip. Otherwise, just go back into what you were doing before. I'm going to speak to the full pose people. Keep your right knee moving towards your right shoulder and extend the toes up towards the ceiling any amount. If you start to lose your balance or you overstretch your hamstring, you just stop and you stay here. That would just imply that you need a belt for next time. And then bend your right knee, release the leg down. Let's all stand in Tadasana and switch into the other side. Good, good. Got a few takers on that toe. All right, here we go. Get that nice line on your back bodies if you're still on the floor. All right. Inhalation, raise the left knee up. If you're going for the toe hold, let your hand follow down so you can gaze at a singular point. Bring the left knee up higher towards your left shoulder, almost like Uttanasana. So you set yourself up. Outer left hip drops, and then take the toes out and up. Drop the left thigh down. So use the weight of your leg. Good, Chris. That's it. And then bend the knee. Nicely. And come back down. Tadasana. All right, so that's all the You know, real hard work, and if you do it slowly, you create a lot of space. So now, let's enjoy ourselves and take a few standing poses just to feel what all that work did to open up the body. No props required. We're just going to express through the pose itself. Now, starting stance. Ground the feet evenly, lift the thighs and the chest, stretch the arms. Turn your feet to the right, left foot in, right leg out, 90 degrees. Firm the thighs, tailbone slightly forward, abdomen in and up. Exhale, reach out over your right leg, Trikonasana. Maybe you're reaching the chest out a little further. All right, Sal, you could go wider with your stance. So if you want to creep the right foot out a little bit more, you'll get a better reach down to the shin. Excellent. Good. Sternum towards the chin. Stretch your arms. Turn your abdomen towards the ceiling and look up. And then on an exhalation, bend your right leg. Sweep the left arm up and over for extended side angle. Ground through the left heel. Plant the big toe mound, inner heel down. So lift the inner left thigh. Reach the right ribs out more towards the kneecap. Inhale, straighten that right leg, find triangle pose again. See if it has a little bit more length in the back body. Inhale, come up, don't move your feet, go directly into warrior two. And then straighten your right leg, turn your feet to parallel. If it's a good day, keep your arms up, otherwise rest them on your hips for a moment. Take a nice lengthening breath, turn the right foot in, left leg out 90 degrees. Inhale, lift up, exhale, legs back, chest down. Those are the simplifications. Sternum towards the chin as you reach back through your right heel. Make sure the outer left hip crease is moving towards the right heel so you have a better leverage to take the left ribs out. Turn your abdomen towards the ceiling and look up. Exhale, bend the left leg, left forearm to thigh, take the right arm up and over. If you have any tightness in your shoulders, you lower your right hand down and then telescope the arm out. Keep that in mind. Reach the left ribs out more as you draw your left thigh back. Ground through the right heel, stretch out through the right arm. Inhale, straighten the left leg, find triangle pose again. Maybe you're a little lower, your chest might stay down more. Inhale, reach back through that right arm. Inhale, come up, stretch through both arms, bend the left leg, warrior two. Look out over your left hand. Use the extension of all limbs and find your breath to be here. That's it. Look left, look right. Make sure your arms are parallel to the floor. And then straighten the left leg, turn your feet to parallel, lower your arms. Side step or hop your feet back into Tadasana. Take your, turn your trunk towards the narrow dimension of your mat. We're going to go into a brief warrior one. Right foot forward, left foot back. Turn both thighs to the right, sweep the arms up overhead. As you exhale, outwardly rotate both legs and bend your right knee. Keep the abdomen back. So from all the long, slow, deep holds in those other poses, these poses of the standing genre might be more accessible to you. Inhale, straighten your right leg, lower your arms. Step your feet back to the middle. Take the left foot forward, the right foot back. Spin both thighs to the left. Inhale, take your arms up. Good. Exhale. Bend the left leg. Keep the left knee over the left heel of the foot. If your knee is forward of the heel, you want to take that foot out a little further, right? That way you get a real nice extension of the left thigh forward, the right thigh back. Stretch through the arms. Inhale. Exhale. Straighten that left leg. Lower your arms down. Stand in Tadasana. Now, if your hamstrings are a little tight, you may want to take that chair back in. Otherwise, 2 blocks will suffice. Taking wide leg forward bend. So again, beginning in a wide stance, and make it just a hair wider, because if you look at the proportion where the wrist bone is, right, and I'll put my little watch band right at my wrist, you want that line to be the same as the outer edge of your foot. Take your hands to the back of the pelvis, begin to spread the buttock flesh away from the midline, and once you keep going lower and lower, find the top of the thighs, rotate the inner groins back, press back on the thighs, lengthen out through the chest, and keep rotating until you start the stretch of your hamstring, and bring your hands down to the blocks at whatever height you need to support this. Lengthen the sternum out, spin the triceps towards one another, round the inner edges of the feet. Exhale, rotate forward more by just bending the elbows and keeping the thighs back, the chest down. So gravity can work to your advantage. Now, wherever your head is, place the blocks up for the forehead. And if you need still the blocks for your hands, bend your legs so you can get your hands on the floor so that you get a nice opening, lengthening of the chest. Keep the hips back so there's weight in the heels. Sometimes we tend to pitch forward and down in this pose. Expand the chest as you breathe in. Ground the heels. Soften any tightness as you breathe out. And now begin to slowly, slowly bring yourself out of this pose by straightening the arms, bringing the blocks perhaps higher. If your legs are bent, straightening the legs, hands to the hips, and inhale, draw the buttock flesh down towards the back of the legs as you come up. And now sidestep or hop your way back into Tadasana. We'll take downward facing dog to finish out. So with your feet either the width of the mat for shorter hamstring hook or hip width apart, get a nice lift of the chest as you inhale. Reach those inner elbows back. Keep them drawing back as you extend your chest forward from the tops of the thighs. Let your hands slide down the legs if you don't touch the floor with your hands here. Bend the legs, get your palms on the mat, and walk yourself all the way out. Keep the legs drawing back. Reorganize your understanding of downward dog so that you know that the legs drawing back facilitates a great amount of lightness to the arms. If it's a good day, stay here 3 additional breaths. Otherwise, come directly into child's pose. And then everyone now take a nice child's pose. Roll, take your hands beneath your shoulders, come to sit, and then position yourself to where you're on your back body with your knees bent. Be on your mat so that you do have enough room to straighten the legs out. So grab the outer edges of your mat and stretch your arms so your backwards lengthen a bit away from the back waist, and your back waist draws towards the heels of the feet. Take your right leg up with the left leg bent. If you have a strong day, take both legs up. Slowly lower the legs down and pause when you start to feel a challenge in the abdominal region for 2 breaths. Go a little lower, stay here for 2 breaths, drawing the abdomen towards the back. So if it's a little much, you have one leg down and one leg up. And then for the rest of the way, slowly, slowly lower down. If you have a yogic emergency, you just bend your knees towards your chest. And then bend both knees, take the knees towards the chest. And if you prefer the less challenging variation, the opposite leg stays on the ground and the other one extends up, or take both legs straight up. Retracting the thighs down into the back of the pelvis helps to pin you here. Extending the legs out a little bit, pause. Taking them down a little bit further, pause. Sternum towards the chin, use your arms. Right? And then slowly lower down the rest of the way. And then let go for a moment. Now bring the inseam of the legs together, toes pointing up, spread the toes, and interlace your fingers on the base of the skull. Not on your neck, but the base of the skull. Have your elbows straight up. Reach your heels, firm your thighs down, navel towards the floor. Inhale. Contain the bottom front ribs towards the tops of the thighs to lift yourself up. Ideally, you're looking at your toes and you're floating your head. So the arms aren't necessarily pulling your head up, they're just supporting your head so your neck is not strained. Exhale and lower back down. Take a resting breath. Inhale, sternum towards the chin, reach for your heels, firm your thighs down, take your elbows up. Exhale, contain the bottom front ribs into the abdomen, firm the thighs down, lift the back shoulders up off the mat, and support your head just with your arms. The more you ground your legs into the floor, the easier it's going to be to lift up higher off the ground. Exhale, slowly lower down. Release the hands so they're near your side hips. Prepare for Shavasana. If you feel as though you need one last little refinement to make your practice and your back that much happier, bend your knees for a moment and take a bridge pose, taking the tailbone up, reaching the thighs out, sternum towards the chin, let the arms roll underneath. It's a nice counter pose to the abdominal contraction. Slowly lower the hips down. And either keep the knees bent, falling towards one another, or let the legs straighten out completely. Relax your jaw, release your tongue. Notice your breath. If you know the Ujjayi breath, you can use that. Otherwise, I'll be describing it for you. Often described as proud conqueror, Ujjayi translates into that. You have an expansive chest, sometimes even more expansive when you have blankets beneath the back of the body on the spine. And if you soften your throat and direct the air more definitively over the palate and down the back of the throat, you'll create a sound very much like yawning with your mouth closed or listening to a seashell at the beach. There's no strain to the eyes, the ears, or the throat. A longer exhalation will bring you quicker and deeper into a relaxed state. A longer inhalation is more invigorating. Even inhalation, exhalation is a balancing breath. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Bend your knees and roll to your side. Find a comfortable seat. Lift and open your chest. Bringing your palms together in front of your heart. Bow your head from the knee to the neck. Namaste.